welcome back to Reddit Recreations. Today we've got part 2 of Sister Wants to Walk Down the Aisle at My Wedding, and we use that to our advantage. In the previous episode we heard about this woman's horrible parents, her horrible sister, the upbringing where she's just been treated awfully, and now is the time for some revenge. So, without further ado, let's get right back into it. It was really funny. My husband and I, who had sincerely considered a courthouse wedding to focus costs on our honeymoon, having this extravagant, expensive wedding and barely spending a dime. We called it back pay for emotional damages from my parents. Lol. My husband was enjoying the whole tricking them more than actually planning the wedding. I didn't think it was possible to witness a guy beaming at the thought of wasting his whole Saturday doing a car trip to discuss wedding details with his in-laws, but here we are. Soon the day came. The plan my parents, my sister and husband had all come up with was wait until everyone was seated. Since the bride always comes out late, they'd have my sister arrive at that precise time, to avoid me seeing her and trying to stop it and walk down the aisle. By the time I heard what happened, it'd be too late to do anything. As for my dress, we saved some of the leftover fabric from my dress altercations, and my husband took that to my parents' place, sister still lives with them now, and showed them as proof he'd ruined the dress. Then said he'd go back to me as I was raging and he needed to calm me down and he'd see me at the wedding. We made sure to keep our actual security hidden at first. As the guests and my parents arrived, all they could see was a woman with a list of names to check. Only after my parents arrived and sat down did we bring out security. A guy that looked like a bodyguard. We told him to not allow anyone, even my sister, in, and agreed on paying a handsome tip if he didn't reveal that we told him that. Soon the time arrived. My parents got a text and my sister was less than 5 minutes away, so my dad went and told people to start. My bridesmaids had been told to follow his lead beforehand, so they obeyed without checking with me. After they all went down and took their places, my dad stood up at the entrance and was waiting for me. This because if my husband or bridesmaid etc. took out a phone and started texting, people might notice. This friend was in on the plan. She's my husband's friend and as willing to help stir up drama as he is, and didn't care about being a bridesmaid or anything. Well, as soon as my dad took his position, the bridal song started playing, the doors open, and I come in. My dad looked aghast at me being there. He tried glancing behind me, but you can't see the venue entrance from where we were, so he couldn't see what happened to my sister. And then his phone rang. I saw the caller ID and it was her. He just left me there with a mumbled, "Something came up." Whoa, you're walking down the aisle. Wow. There were gasps and confusions all around. The friend in on it loudly asked what happened. I lied and in a teary voice said, he told me it wasn't supposed to be me there. That's not what he said, but my husband and I agreed that if he dared leave me, I should say that to make him look like the worst possible father. As for the tears, I wish I could say it was just my stellar acting, but no. Despite everything, a part of me didn't think he'd go so far as to abandon me there, that the sister thing wasn't true but an elaborate joke. I don't know. I was hurt, still am, so I was sincerely trying not to cry. The friend then loudly yelled, "What did he mean it shouldn't be you?" so that many people as possible could hear and spread it. Then went, "I'll go and check," and ran off. We decided to do this to make her create hell with the security and stop my dad from coming back and stopping the ceremony or something. At some point, my mum also left. At this point, my husband's dad quickly ran over and took my arm. He'd been forewarned he might need to. Watching him run desperately to me helped me smile. I walked down the aisle to whispers as people discussed what happened. Some apparently left to check too. When I reached my husband though, all was well. He made me feel better, joking my sad face was so real I deserved an Oscar. And don't worry, he'd rake them over the coals for what they did. We got married without a hitch. My parents didn't come back. I did notice a lot of people leaving then coming back during the party, but no one dared tell me what was happening. Someone did come and whisper in my husband's ear and he went out. He came back after a while with a thunderous expression, but whispered in my ear he needed to go hide somewhere before we broke character and started smiling. Well, what happened is it worked. The following is the summed account from friends, family, the security guard and my husband that I received afterwards. My sister did arrive in a wedding dress. The security refused to let her in. Per our agreement, he claimed she must be in the wrong venue because there was already a bride. And yes, we tipped him really well as promised. My dad went there and tried threatening him with police, claiming he had never heard of him, so he couldn't be working there. The security agreed to the police, since he was hired by us and doing his job. My dad realised by then it'd be too late and tried to demand he let my sister in. At this point, the friend came over and started shouting and insulting my sister and asking what was going on, basically stalling. My mum soon came and eventually other people. At this point, my wedding plan was bust. All my parents could do now is damage control, and everyone that learnt about it was aghast. They'd try and pull it and started screaming and berating them. The three naturally said it wasn't a secret and threw my husband under the bus. At this point, my husband was summoned. When he came over, he put on his best look of confusion and denied. To quote him, gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss. Lol. That's the new live, laugh, love. That's the toxic live, laugh, love you can have up in your kitchen. Gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss. He denied having ever agreed to something so ridiculous. When they insisted he did, he demanded proof, and of course, they couldn't produce any. All text exchanges they could produce were about normal wedding decisions. My sister was scream crying and apparently sat on the floor kicking her legs like a child. My dad looked like he'd beat my husband, but security and other people held him back. Of course, they said they had no proof because my husband told them not to text. My husband laughed and said, "Well, that's convenient, isn't it?" Then again repeated why he would ever agree to something so messed up. Tore them a new one about being awful parents, then said he wasn't going to let their stupid plans and lying get in the way of his wedding, and came back to me. No one believed them. The venue had cameras, but they refused to show me the recording as that was only for security purposes. But some people filmed parts of it. Watching my parents and sister get ripped apart by any and everyone that came up to check the drama was delicious. And after years and years of being accused of stuff and not believed, to watch them have a taste was one of the best wedding gifts. My mother was crying, my dad kept changing from purple to white and back to purple. My sister was still on the floor, crying and screaming like a child. They kept insisting that my husband was in on it, but people kept asking, why would my husband agree? Why was there no proof? And why did they want my sister to do this in my wedding in the first place? And they had no good answer to any of it. Eventually, they were told to leave and had no choice but to do so. My dad apparently had to drag my sister up as she refused to leave the ground. Again, people said nothing to me all night. I guess they wanted to spare me, and maybe it's because I was the bride and not just a guest for once, but it did feel like everyone was making an extra effort to be nice, positive and excited about everything. My husband says, all the expensive stuff they were eating and drinking certainly helps, lol. We had a blast. My husband maintained the forced angry face for only a short while before breaking out in smiles again. After that, we went to the hotel to catch some sleep before going on our honeymoon. Speaking of which, my parents did try to pay for our plane tickets, but we thought that was risky as they could try and cancel them or something, so we refused that part. Of course, since that whole thing, the three have tried to contact me. I've refused calls because my husband insisted on keeping a paper trail. Smart thing, because my sister did eventually message me. I won't repeat it as it was very unhinged and didn't make much sense, but the important part was that she blamed me for her humiliation, called my husband a two-faced snake that fooled them for months. He wants to print and put that on our wall, and hoped, but was also certain it would happen, that I'd get cheated on by him. She did also suggest he was cheating on me with her, actually. My husband took my phone, screenshot the call logs, screenshot my sister's message, screenshot some of my parents demanding I pick up the phone, and sent it all to my family group chat, and sent screenshots of messages to him where they called him names and threatened him, but he kept up the "you're delusional, I never agreed to anything" shtick, and even threatened to sue them for defamation and harassment. He wrote a message in said group chat begging my family for help as I was now being harassed by them constantly. He begged the family to help stop them from trying to ruin my honeymoon now that he had failed to ruin my wedding. That finished neatly with a request that they don't share our locations to avoid my parents sending my sister over, and then claiming he had somehow agreed to pretend to screw her in our honeymoon suite. Lol. My family assured him they'd take care of it. And indeed, since then, we've had silence. My husband is a little disappointed my sister didn't disobey, so he could tattle again while tearing her a new one. We'll see if it lasts. All in all, while I obviously would have preferred to have a normal, loving family at my wedding, at least for once in my life, they not only failed to ruin something meaningful to me, but I got them back. So I always think it's always bad enough when you do something mean to someone else like that on an emotional decision, but everything's planned out. It's so meticulously planned in months ahead, this, that, everything. That's not even just you being bad at controlling your emotions and being a bad person. That's just evil. And this was definitely nuclear revenge. This was incredible revenge. I hope you create your own family now. The one that you can actually love and enjoy and bring up children who will never have to go through what you've gone through. That's what I sincerely hope for the two of you. Extra info. Do I know why they've treated me like this? I've been asked this question a lot, so I assume you will all think the same. I have wondered this all my life and I still don't know. I tried asking when I was young, but they denied any difference and scolded me for acting spoiled, so I quit trying. I've thought of many possibilities, but based on my observations, I think it's this. I was unplanned. They took a while to have my sister, so she was not only wanted, but also some kind of miracle child after so long. However, given our age difference is quite small, I think they didn't expect to have a kid so soon or easily, and didn't use adequate protection way too soon after my sister's birth. And maybe didn't notice my mum was pregnant until too late. So they were saddled with an unplanned baby while still dealing with a newborn, and they're not that well off. So having the extra expenses likely didn't help, so they resented me. But that's my conjecture. Regardless, I've accepted the answer won't truly matter. What they did to me was unwarranted, no matter what. Did they really think this would work? My husband and I talked, and we have a theory that they never wanted to do this at all. We think my sister threw a tantrum over me getting married first when she barely gets dates, and they gave my husband that outlandish proposition, as in they didn't want to pay for my wedding and didn't think we'd accept, or that it'd even look good for them to do it. But by suggesting it and being refused, they could look like the good guys to my sister while still also having an excuse to not give me a dime. But then my husband accepted it, and they couldn't backtrack or else risk my sister turning on them. Wow, so it seems like they were stuck between a bitch and a hard place. Summary, because it did get too long. And oh lord, did it get long. Summary, because it did get too long. Bad parents want to have my sister walk down the aisle at my wedding first, in my wedding dress and all. My husband pretends to go along with it and uses this as an excuse to get my parents to pay for the most expensive stuff possible for my wedding, which they only did because they thought it would be for my sister's sake. When the day comes though, we hired security that didn't let her in. When family called out my parents, they said my husband was in on it, but my husband denied it. There was no evidence, so no one believed them. So now family is against them, no one believes them, and my sister didn't ruin my wedding, and we got a lot of money out of them. Oh, what a story. Oh my god. I'm just going to jump straight to the comments before I give my own opinions on this. I swear to God, if this is real, I am so sorry you have such a horrible family. If this isn't real, take my phone, get off Reddit, write a goddamn book already. That was epic. I love it. Give your hubby a kiss from an internet stranger. He did a great job. Right? This would make an amazing movie. It should be like Knives Out, so you don't know who to believe right till the end. A whodunit at their sister's wedding. That would be great. This is one of the best stories I've ever seen on Reddit. This was truly lovely, but if it is true, you need to take this down now. This is far unique of a set of circumstances for not to be glaringly obvious to anyone involved or familiar with the wedding to not know exactly what wedding you're talking about. This, while delightful, is a complete confession of your husband's involvement, and if it gets out to your family, will completely backfire, ruining all of your excellent work. I don't know. If I was in the family and I read all of this and I knew it was about that, I'd probably be still on your side. Aggressively on your side still. If you find out at the wedding this has happened and you've set them up, I would probably be like, what the hell is wrong with you? What the hell is wrong with you? Why would you want to do that? Why would you set her up like this? You're all awful people. So if you were to read this story, you get the backstory first. You get the context first, which is so vital. So I don't know, I'd read this to the family and be like, oh my god, I love you even more, you genius, you brilliant happy couple. Frankly, if I were one of the extended family / guests, I'd probably still think OP and her husband were in the right. They simply gave her parents and sister the rope to which they could hang themselves. Yeah, and someone else here points out really well, I want to know what a successful execution of the plan looks like to the parents. Obviously, the sister probably imagined she was going to end up getting married to the husband, but what was the parents' imagined response? The extended friends and family were just going to accept someone besides the bride walking down the aisle in a wedding dress. Even if OP didn't freak out, no one was going to be on their side. Even if the bride was in on it, and there was some wholesome reason, like the sister being special needs, I would still be weirded out as the guest. Also, I would love to see a lawyer's reaction if the parents did try to sue. So you paid for our daughter's wedding, but now you want to sue because your other daughter didn't get to walk down the aisle in a wedding dress. That's where the story falls apart. There's no win condition for parents and sister. Even if their insane fantasy plan succeeded, sister would still be unmarried and OP would be married. The attendees would think partner and sister are some utterly unhinged, and very few people would continue associating with them. Yeah, exactly. Even in the best case scenario, I'd see that as like, why is she walking down the aisle? What's going on here? Then the actual wife would come down. Is it the pastor cheat on you? What, she's going to try and very quickly marry him before you can get up and tear them apart? My God. Delusional parents have just raised a delusional daughter. I just don't understand why you would have children if you're going to treat them this way. Even if you're a mistake, you're still their child. You should still get love. You should still be loved. And you should still love your children this way. If you can't do that, then don't be having children. Well, I am going to end it there. Thank you so much for watching. This has been one hell of a story. It was a horrible read to start with, but at the end, oh, it just sends tingles through my spine. It feels so good. So thank you again for watching. If you did like these videos, please don't forget to like and subscribe, because I do put out Please don't forget to like and subscribe, because I do put out new Reddit videos every single day. And I will see you again next time.